welcome back to Off the Post. In today's episode, I'll be discussing why does everybody want to leave Crystal Palace in the January transfer window. But before that, as always, please like, comment and subscribe. It's very much appreciated and it goes a long way to help me build a small community on my channel, okay? We've recently just hit 289 subscribers. We're only 11 away from reaching my main target, 300. Hopefully we can go and smash that, and I just want to say a massive thank you for the recent support on our most recent episodes and the likes and the comments on social media as well. Definitely to go unnoticed. It's just amazing each and every time I record these videos. But yeah, it's a January transfer window, so we've got to talk about 3 more transfers, haven't we? 3 more transfer rumours anyways. So the first one for me in this video is Adam Wharton to Liverpool. For me, I do like this transfer. I could see it happening definitely. But however, I can't see it happening in January. I could see this one being for the summer transfer window. Just for me at the moment, with the likes of Marguerite leaving to Man City, of course, with Mateta potentially moving to somewhere else in the transfer window. He's been linked to quite a few clubs, hasn't he, so far? So for me, I feel like at the moment, you got to think to yourself, why would Crystal Palace sell Adam Wharton as well? I just can't see it happening. He's probably one of their main stars, probably the most profitable player on that list for Crystal Palace at the moment, with the likes of Mateta, of course. However, I just don't know if it's going to be one that's going to get over the line. I think it's like a rumour they had last season with Marguerite going to Liverpool. I feel like potentially Crystal Palace would want to get the deal done just to get some more money on their books so they can, recoup that and sort of, reinvest that into their squad. However, I just can't see, Crystal Palace accepting that at this point in the season, just because if you think about Crystal Palace at the moment, they are quite low in the Premier League, aren't they? I want to say 14th, 15th in the Premier League. So if they lose Adam Wharton, if they lose Mateta and obviously Marguerite, 3 of their big stars in their squad, they're going to be in a relegation battle. And you could say to yourself, at the moment, with those players in there, they are in a relegation battle. There's no doubts about that, because badly they're performing at the moment in recent weeks. They've lost 3-1 at Chelsea. They've lost 2-1 to Sunderland. They've lost 2-1 to Macclesfield. They've drew 0-0 with Aston Villa. And they've lost 2-0 to Newcastle recently. So you got to think to yourself, that is very disappointing. That's why they're sitting 15th in the Premier League. You know what I mean? They're only 2 points above Leeds United in 16th. And I want to say, they're 3 points above Nottingham Forest in 17th. So from that point of view, they're definitely in a relegation battle. And for me, they can't lose Adam Wharton. They've got to keep Adam Wharton just to stay above ground, to stay above level, so they don't, sink into those, relegation zones, if you like. And for me, if we just say, if we just quickly, address the Adam Wharton Liverpool situation, I feel like that's a fantastic business for Liverpool, just because he reminds me a lot of Fabinho, the Brazilian midfielder they once had a few seasons ago. And I feel like, he's very good on the ball. He's very good at progressing the other players into play, the midfielders, the attackers, and also his defensive ability is also second to none, isn't it? Adam Wharton, he's fantastic. And since his days at Blackburn Rovers, really, him coming in as a teenager, impressing, and then he's just going leaps and bounds every single season, isn't he, Adam Wharton? Getting better and better every single season, just quietly going about his business, and I do really, really rate him. Honestly, he can do pretty much everything in that midfield, isn't he? And he probably will be another one. He probably will be another one of those £100 million plus players. How much would it take for Liverpool to buy Adam Wharton out of Crystal Palace? For me, I would have to say 100 million. If Declan Rice is going for 100 million, I feel like you've got to compare that to Adam Wharton as well. Probably on a similar level when Declan Rice left West Ham to Adam Wharton. Okay, that's how I feel, at least, anyways. But yeah, moving over now to the second transfer. It is another one from Crystal Palace. I've recently done this in one of my recent videos last week, okay. It's Jean-Philippe Mateta being linked with a move to Nottingham Forest, okay. The last time I did a video, he was linked with Juventus, he was linked with Aston Villa, and he hasn't moved so far. And he's recently it's recently come out that Nottingham Forest are prepared to bid 35 million for the French striker in Mateta. For me, I'm not too sure about this strike. I'm not too sure about this transfer deal either, just because I can't see him playing for Nottingham Forest. That is a downgrade on Crystal Palace at the moment. They're doing worse in the league than Crystal Palace. Don't get me wrong, there's only 3 points in it, but Nottingham Forest this season have been absolutely off the pace, and they've got loads of strikers on their books. They've got Chris Wood, they've got Igor Jesus, They've got a third striker in there. They've got a French striker out on loan to Rennes, I'm pretty sure, isn't it? In the second half of the season at least anyway. So he's going to come back and he's going to be challenging with Mateta next season. So why would Nottingham Forest buy Mateta? He probably is an upgrade on three of those strikers. But then again, you've got to say to yourself, him and Chris Wood probably are on par, even though Chris Wood hasn't had the best of seasons this season, I suppose. But maybe you've got to think to yourself, Mateta being 28 years old, is this, this is probably the last biggest contract he can get in the Premier League, so maybe he might move to a Nottingham Forest. But then again, you got to think to yourself, I don't think Crystal Palace will accept anything lower than at least 40 million, and Nottingham Forest are obviously trying to bid 35 million. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, just because that is quite low for a striker of Mateta's quality. Just from my opinion, at least. Anyway, he's scored quite a few goals this season, hasn't he? I want to say 8 goals. I'm pretty sure. But for me, again, what's going on with Crystal Palace? Why are they blowing up the whole squad? You got to think to yourself. They've recently lost, a breach in the summer to Arsenal, losing Marguerite to Man City, potentially losing obviously losing Oliver Glasner in the summer, potentially losing Mateta to Forest, potentially losing Adam Wharton to Liverpool as well. So that's 5 that's like what 4 of their best players and their star manager as well. I don't have a clue what has happened to Crystal Palace. Honestly, they're on a downward spiral at the moment, and they need to sort the club out, don't they? Whether that's coming from the board, whether that's coming from the manager. I don't know why their squad is getting obliterated. I can't even say that word. Why is their squad getting demolished? I just don't even have a clue what's going on with Crystal Palace at the moment. Let me know in the comments down below, Crystal Palace fans. Crystal Palace had one of the best seasons last season, winning the FA Cup. Absolutely amazing scenes. The first time in their history, absolutely amazing scenes by Crystal Palace. And now it's just gone from good to worse real quick, hasn't it? Like 100% real bad. Honestly, it has. I can't even describe the emotions that Crystal Palace fans must be feeling in this January transfer window. I feel like they've just got hope for it to be shut instantly, because honestly, they're losing players like gold dust at the moment, aren't they? But anyway, let's move over to the third player on this list, third and final player, and it's Douglas Luiz to Chelsea. For me, obviously he's on loan at Nottingham Forest at the moment. He's not really having that much game time this season. He's not really performed like he was at Juventus, even though he had a bit of a horrid time there as well. At Aston Villa, you probably, say to yourself, that's where Douglas Luiz was thriving. And that's what I feel like Chelsea could probably get the best out of him. Again, for me, if you move to Chelsea, I don't think he'll be starting in that, starting 11 at least, ahead of Caicedo, ahead of Enzo Fernandez, ahead of other midfielders in there. I just don't think he's going to get into that starting 11. Maybe he might add that more balance into your side. If he started next to a Caicedo, him and Douglas Luiz could probably do something, probably add some more reassurance to that defence, if you like. So maybe that's one element of Douglas Luiz's game that Liam Rosinia is sort of seeing to himself and maybe eyeing up for his, potential starting 11. However, I reckon this one is probably just a bench option to bring you off when there's like half an hour left of the game. I reckon that's what Douglas Luiz will probably come on to replace Caicedo, and that's how I feel like he'll probably will come into the team. But then again, he's also linked with moves at Aston Villa as well, his former club. And for me, I can't see this one happening just because he's already been there and done that. I don't know if he'll do that again. Maybe he might want to say to himself he want to come home. That's where he sort of, grew into the players today. And that's where he sort of got his big money move to Juventus. So maybe he want to come home and sort of, try and find his form back into the Premier League once again, because there is a good player in there. We just haven't seen it now for the last 2 seasons, so I just don't know whether or not Chelsea would be the best fit. And I don't know whether or not Aston Villa will be the best fit because he's already been there and done that. However, you can say to yourself, there's a lot of injuries at the moment for Aston Villa in the likes of Boubacar Kamara. Tielemans has sort of gone down with an injury. McGinn's is injured for 5 or 6 weeks now. Ross Barkley's also not fit either. So there's like 4 players there that Douglas Luiz could start ahead of. And, it's a crunch time of Aston Villa season in the second half of the season. Trying to secure top 4 football, trying to be in that title race still at the moment, trying to compete in the Europa League. You could say to yourself, Douglas Luiz could be a big part of that. And you could potentially, spur them on to finish in the top 4. And potentially win the Europa League still. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, those are my 3 transfer rumours in the last week of the January transfer window. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about these three transfers. Will they happen? Would Adam Wharton to Liverpool happen? Is it a realistic transfer in the January transfer window, or could you see it happening in the summer transfer window? How would you feel about Jean-Philippe Mateta? Where will he end up? Will it be a Juventus? Will it be an Aston Villa? Will it be a Nottingham Forest? Will he actually leave? Will Crystal Palace accept anything lower than 40 million? Can you see him staying? Does he have to stay to, keep Crystal Palace in the league? Could Crystal Palace be in a relegation battle if both of those players do leave as well? Do you need to just sack the manager? Get Oliver Glasner off your books and bring in somebody else to revive their season, if you like. And how would you feel about the likes of Douglas Luiz potentially going out back on loan to another Premier League club in either Chelsea or an Aston Villa? Which is the best? Which is the perfect destination for Douglas Luiz? Is it at Chelsea playing second fiddle to Caicedo? Is it playing for Aston Villa, going back home playing for Aston Villa, and replacing those injured players at the moment in their club? But yeah, before that, as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. It's very much appreciated, and it goes along with helping me build a small community on my channel. It really does mean a lot. We've got 289 subscribers, absolutely over the moon with that. I just want to say a massive thank you for all the support on our most recent episodes, all the likes and the comments on social media as well. Definitely noticed, and I really do hope you have a good rest of your day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.